Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do all of the steps to change your Illustrator file where you drew the lines into a Photoshop file. So the first thing that you need to do, let me see, I have to share my screen, my whole screen, the desktop. Right. So what we're going to do is, move this out of the way. So we're going to go in and open the Creative Cloud, of course, and then we're going to open Illustrator on our iMac. So it's going to open, and then you're going to go find your file. So the way to find it is to go into, if you do it this way, you'll find the most recent things. If I go File, Open, then I'm going to go look in my Creative Cloud files. And if I do by date added, you can see that the most recent thing, I'm going to just open up my Op Art 1. I'm going to open that. And then I am going to export it. So what I need to do is, first I want to make sure that all of my lines are totally filled with none. So on the iMac, you can use the color menu. It looks like a little palette right here up in the top. If you don't find any menus that I'm talking about, you always can go to Window, and they're all alphabetical. Okay, so right now we're going to look at the color. And the color right now is set for white. I'm just going to select all. If I press the Command key and A, it'll select everything. And then see, mine are already filled with none. But if yours do not show this, then you should click on Fill with None. So this is how you fill. So this is the fill and this is the stroke. If you hover over it, you can see whenever you're trying to change a color, you have to bring that thing in the front. This is a really important thing. It's in Illustrator. So that would change the stroke color. This would change the fill color. So you want to change that to none, and then you're good to go. So I'm going to deselect with my selection tool. And now I'm ready to export. So when I export, I'm going to make sure I'm going to cut off all these lines that are hanging over the edge, which will make a nice clean cut. So we go File, Export, Export As, and then make sure you're putting it in the Creative Cloud files. If you do not see a window that looks kind of like this with this gray bar, right on this side, see right here, there's a little drop down right there where it says Where. Click that, and that way you'll always have the gray bar, so you can make sure you're always saving to your Creative Cloud. Okay, we're going to change this to a Photoshop file. I'm just going to take this off, and I'm going to call this the video one. It's not going to be a PNG. I'm going to save it under Format down here at the bottom. I click on that drop down and I choose Photoshop PSD. Never change this. That will not change the type of file. You have to tell it here and it will automatically change to PSD. All right. Make sure that you click Artboards, use Artboards, and that will click off and get all this extra junk away from it. Okay. So click Use Artboards, and then it'll be on all, and you just export. You'll get this little gray box. I want you to make sure that the color mode, change that to grayscale, because that will keep us from having to change it to grayscale when we get to Photoshop. It'll already be ready. Shh. People should not be talking while I'm making a video. The resolution is going to be 300 pixels per inch. So make sure that if it doesn't say that, you can click this drop down and change it. Choose flat image for this. And then anti-aliasing, you can just choose Art Optimize Super Sampling and click OK. Now it has exported as a Photoshop file, and now you have a Photoshop file. So you can just close Illustrator. It's actually best to quit every day when you're in class. Go to Illustrator up here. You can always tell what app you're in. It's right next to the apple. And these, I refer to these as the top menus. So if I say go to Window or go to View, and then I'm going to tell you where to go. So these are the top menus. So I would say go to File, go to Edit, and I will always start with something like that. But we're going to go to the Illustrator and quit Illustrator because we're done with it now. Nobody needs to be typing in this assignment, so please don't type while I'm doing the video. Okay, so I'm going now to open Photoshop. So I'm opening Photoshop, and you can see on the bottom of my dock here that there's no dots under these apps because they're closed right now. The Creative Cloud app is open. I'm going to go to Photoshop and click Open. And now I am going to find that file that I just opened by going to Open under here. See, I'm in Photoshop. I'm going to go File, Open. And then that's going to give me that same window for the Creative Cloud files, and I can find the one that I'm creating right here. So now I just open it, and now I have my Photoshop file. And notice that it chopped off all the edges. So you're going to see, I'm going to tell you a couple of tricks here that you need to know. Command 0 will zoom in. Whoops, not Command, the letter O. Command 0 will zoom in to your whole window, and it'll fit it to the window. If you want to zoom in and out, like you do on the iPad, where you take your fingers and you open and close them like scissors to zoom in, you press the space bar, and the space bar lets you move your piece around. It gives you that little hand. And then when you press the space bar and then hit the command key, you'll get a little magnifying glass, and you can click on any object that you want to see, and you can zoom to the right to zoom in and move your mouse to the left. So I'm pressing my mouse, and I'm holding the space bar and the command key to zoom in and out. And now if I want to go back to see the whole thing, I press Command 0. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to zoom in really big so you can see why we have to change it to black and white. So see these little tiny gray squares, not these big ones in the back. This means it's transparent right now. But so there's just lines over like a transparent window. You can see through them. But there's all these little gray edges. That's called interpolation. And those are, when you try to fill it with black, this is what happens. Take a look. So see this little white edge around it? We don't want that to happen. So what we need to do is we need to make this pure black and white. Now it's going to look a little zigzaggy like this when you zoom in, but that's at a huge size. So when you look at it at 100%, it's going to be fine. Okay, so we're going to go to change this to a bitmap. We go up to the image, up at the top menus, image mode, and it's already grayscale. If it's not, change it to that first because it won't let you make a bitmap. So if you forgot to change it from RGB, change it to grayscale first, then go back up there again and change it to bitmap. So you click on bitmap, and yes, you flatten the layers. It may default to the output at like a different size. Even if I type it in, it may change, but it's going to be 300 pixels per inch. And then make sure it's 300 pixels per inch or close, like 299 or 301. It might change by itself. I don't know why it does that. Make sure the method is use 50% threshold. If you do a dither, it's going to make little speckles. We want to make sure it's 50%. The reason it's called that is because it pushes it to pure black or pure white, depending on how light or dark it is. And so this is only going to be pure black and white. So I click OK. And now you can see that you can't see the background because it's made all the transparent part white and all the black is black. So if I zoom way in, you can see that it's jaggedy looking, but it'll print fine and it'll look fine at 100%. So right here, it's at 2350. That's huge, right? But if I go down to 100 or close to 100, you don't really see it, right? Okay. So now, am I ready to color? No. The next step you have to do is duplicate your background layer, because we're keeping the background layer. So it's under the layers menu. There's a little thing, I call this the mini drop down, and you can click on that. Oh, nope, you can't yet. I forgot. And you might forget to. You have to change it back to grayscale. Now it's not going to put the little gray parts on. It just needs to be grayscale again. Don't forget that part. You won't be able to make layers. Leave it on the ratio 1. That's what, then it changes back. But see, if I zoom way in, it didn't change it back to clear and it kept it pure black and white. Okay. Now I'm going to duplicate my background layer. We want to keep this, so if we make any mistakes, we can go back in and fix them. Sometimes you can fix certain areas. That way you can put it back. Or if you have to redo it, you don't have to go through the export process again. So I'm going to duplicate the layer and I'm going to just call it checkers, because I'm making it look like a checkerboard. Now I'm ready to color. So this is where the paint bucket is. If you see this gradient tool right here in the middle of this toolbar, then just press on it, and these are nested so you can change it to the paint bucket. So now I have the paint bucket. This is my foreground color and my background color. It's different than it is in Illustrator. And it's different than it is on your iPad, obviously, because they're stacked on top of each other. But so this is your background color. It should be all black. You just drag this into the corner if it's not already all black, okay? And then you can start filling. Now you have to be really careful, and I'm just gonna tell you again, be really careful about coloring every other space. So sometimes there's a shape inside the space, like here, and you'll color it and it might confuse you. But just start with a corner, any corner, and click it with black. Make sure you're doing it on your checkers layer. And then it's every other one. And the way to always remember this is just always cross a line. Sometimes they have these little X's here and you might be confused, but if you just cross the line, then you won't be confused. So take your time. Black, this has to be white because it's across the line. So everything on the other side of the line is the opposite color. So this is white. So on the other side of the line, it's the opposite color, black. On the other side, it's white. So on the opposite side of that line, it's black. Then it's white, then it's black. That's white, even if it's not touching. Okay, so this is white, so this has to be black. This has to be white, this has to be black. This has to be black because it's across from white lines, or white is across the line. Okay, so you're gonna just go through and continue to color your piece, every other one. So notice that these little crisscross parts, sometimes people get a little bit nervous about that. Just if you cross the line, you know it's white. Then you cross the line, you know it's black. And then these are all fine. So this is across the line, it's white. This is across the line, it's black. Across the line, white, black, white, black. This is white, this is black, this is black, okay? So that's what you're gonna do. Now, for the assignment that this is posted in, I'm expecting you to do about 1/4 of your page by Friday. So it might take you a little time. You can do, if you get it all done and it's perfectly good, you can do another one. But when you're done, what I want you to do is I'm going to show you, I'm going to go in and I'm going to take a screenshot. So you want to see, I want to see that you have layers and that you're coloring on the checkers layer. You're getting your points for that. So to take a screenshot of just an area that you want, you press the Command key, the Shift key, and the number 4. See this little cursor, how it changes to a circle with the little crisscross in it? I let go and it's still there. So I pressed Command Shift 4 and then I let go. And then I just go up to the top of my Photoshop section. You don't have to take a picture of your screen, and you're going to drag that across to make sure that you include your layers. Okay. And that's it. And then it will land on your desktop. I have a lot of junk on my desktop. It might make a square like this, but after a few minutes, it goes away. But if you can't find it, you can click on the Finder. And if you click Desktop, it's going to be the thing that you find. When you're done uploading this to your Canvas, just go into Google and go to Canvas and upload it to the assignment. When you're done, toss that in the trash. And then if you right click, you can empty the trash. Okay, and then you just click empty trash. Right, so we always want the trash emptied, and we always want to get rid of any files that you leave on the desktop. So the only time you're going to leave anything on the desktop is when you are making a screenshot, mostly. Okay, so that's it. That's how you do it. So now you have all the information that you need to get this done successfully to the checkerboard stage of your op art.